12A.
12A, 2014-04, consideration of introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, submitting to a vote of the registered electors of the City of Aurora, Colorado, in the statewide general election of November 4, 2014, a proposed amendment to Section 3-16-8G of the Charter concerning the ability of the police and fire chiefs to have their disciplinary orders sustained by the Civil Service Commission when an officer or firefighter file an appeal.
Councilmember Peterson.
I'd like to make the motion to table the introduction of the ordinance 12A.
I second.
Moved by Councilmember Peterson, seconded by Councilmember Monier, to table the introduction of the ordinance item 12A. Discussion. Councilmember Broom.
A motion to table means somebody's going to have to make a motion to put it back on the agenda, is that correct?
That is correct.
So it won't come back at a specific time?
It won't come back unless someone offers a motion for it to come back.
Thank you.
Councilmember Laguerre.
Mayor, can I get clarification on the, if there is a motion to bring it back, do you have to be on the prevailing side? Is that part? Do you have to be on the prevailing side to, if there's a motion to bring it back later? If
No.
it is tabled?
No.
That
not in
doesn't
a
apply
table
in this case?
situation. No. That's a reconsideration
Okay,
situation.
thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to table the introduction of the ordinance item 12A? Seeing none, we'll call the question on tabling the introduction of the ordinance. If you want to table it, vote yes. If you don't, vote no. And the motion to table fails on a vote of 3 in favor, 7 against. The 3 in favor are Council Members Monier, Peterson, and Markert. I need a motion to introduce.
Mayor,
Councilmember Clelland.
move to introduce 12A.
Second. Moved by Councilmember Clelland, seconded by Councilmember Pierce to introduce the ordinance item 12A. I do have 2 requests to speak. I didn't call them until after the tabling vote because it didn't matter. So I will call them up in the order in which they were presented. First, I have Justin Balderston, followed by Mark Finnan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Justin Balderston, President, Local 1290. Residence is 1010 South Joliet. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Council, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. On behalf of the Aurora Firefighters, Local 1290, I strongly urge you to vote no on moving this issue forward. Changing the city charter for such a small number of appeals that ever make it to the Civil Service Commission is absolutely ridiculous. In the last 14 years, only 2 cases on the fire side have gone before the Commission. One of those cases was upheld by the Commission, the other was overturned. Our members are faced with many challenging issues. Many times, life and death decisions have to be made immediately, and without having all the facts. Unlike the lawyers and the administrators, we don't have the luxury of having all the facts and the time to Monday morning quarterback. Sometimes situations dictate we deviate from policies. Sometimes we are wrongfully accused of deviating from policies. Like everyone else in America, our members deserve due process. We already have a process in place where an independent, unbiased third party can look at the facts of the case, the discipline handed down, and determine if it is appropriate or needs to be modified. As I stated earlier, only 2 cases have gone before the Civil Service Commission in 14 years. One of them was upheld, the other was overturned. Changing the charter doesn't make sense. It seems to me our process for due process works just fine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Mark Finnan.
Good evening. My name is Mark Finnan. I'm president of the Aurora Police Association. Mayor, members of City Council, tonight you are faced with a decision whether or not to move forward a proposal to change city charter and the authority of the Civil Service Commission. On behalf of the men and women of the Aurora Police Association, I would like to thank those of you that took the time to educate yourselves about the issues and concerns related to this controversial proposal. I think we would all agree that something of this nature is not to be taken lightly. After all, we are talking about the fundamental right to due process when appealing disciplinary issues. We do not blame the City Attorney's Office for bringing forward this proposal. It is their responsibility to defend the discipline ordered by the Chief of Police and justify his actions during an appeal to the Civil Service Commission. Changing the rules and authority of the Civil Service Commission does not correct the problem. The problem is the City Attorney's Office is asked to justify discipline that is not supported by the facts of the case, and this becomes glaringly apparent when all the facts of an incident involving an officer are brought forward to an independent, unbiased entity such as the Civil Service Commission. There have been cases that are routinely, there have been 2 cases that are routinely cited by the Chief's Office as examples how the process is in need of substantive changes. In both incidents, the officers were investigated for and cleared of any criminal wrongdoing. In both cases, the internal affairs investigators advised the Chief's Office that the facts of the incident did not support the level of discipline he planned on ordering. Despite all of this, he terminated both officers, who subsequently appealed the discipline to the Civil Service Commission, and consequently both officers were reinstated. Those decisions were not based on technicalities, but on the basis that the facts did not support the discipline. Now, all of you at one time or another have stated that you are strong supporters of public safety, whether it has been part of a campaign to be elected as a public official or addressing your constituents during a ward meeting. Tonight presents an opportunity for you to prove that that is in fact the case. Vote against moving this proposal forward. On behalf of the men and women of the Aurora Police Association, I would like to thank you for your time and your attention to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilmember Clelland.
I have a couple questions, and I may have an amendment. I have a question regarding the proposal that discusses the directives of the police and fire department. Has this been a problem in the past? And I guess
Yeah.
yeah, it's on.
You need to speak more into your mic, though. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilmember Clelland, it has historically not been a problem. It became a problem in a very recent hearing.
So is it fair to say that based on the entire history of the commission, this has never been a problem?
Yes, until very recently.
Okay. One of the things I thought I would do is, I move to make an amendment by amending the sentence, "The commission does not have the jurisdiction," and end with "have been involved," or "have been violated." The commission shall give a rebuttal presumption to the property, correctness, or validity of the directives or policies established by chiefs of police and the fire department, a chief's determination that such directives or policies have been violated.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask the reference, just so I can see where it is?
Can we get a reference to
What page are you on?
the language?
It's one of the first sentences in the proposal, so therefore it'll be capitalized. You'll see the strike.
Do you have a page number?
Sorry, electronics.
Yeah.
222.
222.
What about the iPad? 222 is a memo, at least on the
I
page.
think in the hard copy, it's probably 244.
Yeah.
244.
The first change, as you see, is the striking of an existing sentence, and then the amendment that's being offered is the first sentence that starts with "The commission does not have jurisdiction to consider Councilmember Cleland has been consulting with our office, wants to loosen that up and still give the commission the opportunity to look at directives, but wants to create a rebuttable presumption instead of just shutting the door completely on the commission's ability to judge the directive or departmental rule.
Mr. Mayor?
Is this as simple as saying, also striking the word in the proposed change, striking the word "not"? Is it that simple, or is it more than that?
You would strike the words "does not have jurisdiction to consider." You would strike "does not have jurisdiction to consider." You would propose substituting "shall give a rebuttable presumption to," shall give a rebuttable presumption to, and then you'd continue with the propriety. And you'd also, further on in the sentence, instead of saying or to reverse, you would strike that and put in the word "and." So both the propriety, correctness, and validity of the directives and the chief's determination that such directives have been violated now gets back on the table, admittedly in a rebuttable presumption basis.
Councilmember Broom.
This is a question for the city attorney. Well, does that mean that basically the commission would have the ability to rewrite the directives and policies put in place by the chief of the police or the chief of the fire department?
Well, your choice of the word to rewrite is provocative. We certainly hope that would never be the case, but I think what this does do, and the city attorney's office can support this, because it opens the door to the appellant officer making an argument that the rule is vague or confusing. I don't see that occurring very frequently, but I wouldn't characterize it as rewriting. I think it allows them to make an argument to the commission there's something wrong with the rule. So yes, it does open the door a little bit.
Councilmember Laguerre.
Yes, Mr. City Attorney, I'm going to need to hear that amendment either from you or Councilmember Cleland. I didn't get it down, and we have nothing in writing here. So can you repeat the changes that are being proposed for someone?
Yeah, it would read, "The commission shall give a rebuttable presumption to the propriety, correctness, and validity of the directives or policies established by the chiefs of police and the fire departments, and a chief's determination that such directives or policies have been violated."
And tell me again what exactly that does differently than, I mean, I understand this one says there's no rebuttal.
The proposed rule would allow the officer or firefighter to make an argument that there was something wrong with the rule. Again, that it conflicts with another rule, that it's vague, it's not clear, it's not enforced. So it gives an element of due process to allow that argument to be made. Now, there's a presumption that the directive is appropriate. It just says to the officer or firefighter, you're going to have to try to rebut the presumption that there's nothing wrong with the rule.
And does this address the concerns you've had recently about, I mean, because this was brought forward based on concerns we've had with the commission's actions. Does this change, does this amendment still address your concerns?
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And I have a duty to defend the legality of this charter amendment should this council move it to the ballot, and should the electorate pass this. I believe this is advantageous to make this amendment as opposed to shutting the door completely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Markert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the city attorney as well. It was hard to understand the rationale while you were reading the changes. So now that we've got the wording, could you go through your rationale in proposing that, separate from what the words are? Because I have grave concerns about throwing something like this up with words when nobody has had a chance to understand what you really mean. I need to know what is exactly a rebuttable presumption. What does it take to figure one out? Does an employee have access to that information? I need to know all that before I can put those two words in where other words were.
Okay.
So I either need a real crash course in law or a little bit more time to be able to gather the information that I need to understand what kind of a ramification this is going to have.
Mr. Richards.
I cannot remember an officer or firefighter ever participating in a Civil Service Commission appeal pro se, that is without an attorney. Now, it may have happened, but I certainly, the course is always, well, that I can recollect, they have legal counsel with them. So the original proposal really took off the table and disallowed any attack, argument, discussion of a departmental rule. It just said, you know, you can't go there. And it was a draconian shutting of the door on allowing them to plumb the directive itself. This rebuttable presumption means it's a compromise in a sense. The directives are to be taken seriously. The chief's respective findings that the directives have been violated should be taken seriously, but it opens the door for the commission to at least hear the arguments that there's something wrong with the underlying directives and then decide the case based on those arguments.
But if I might, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
What you're offering an amendment to is proposed amendment language. The,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
So you're simply changing the change.
Yes, the proposal.
The proposed
Right.
change, correct. Which I think I would argue doesn't allow for the kind of time and deliberation that is needed, having spent a ton of time understanding what was the problem and what were the alternatives, and why this language seemed to you to be in the city's best interest, why now it can be changed doesn't give me enough time to understand that. So
Before we go any further, what I'm going to say is that the motion was offered. It has not been seconded. Before we're going to have debate on the motion, I need to either know that there's a second or not. And if there's no second, you don't need to have the debate. So is there a, Councilmember Laguerre is seconding the motion. All right. Now, we'll continue with the debate. Councilmember Broom.
This is a question for the city manager. Have you discussed this proposed change with the two departments to determine what they feel about this?
The base change or the amendment?
The amendment.
I've heard about the amendment just now. Didn't know about it.
Mr. Richards.
Councilmember Broom, well, it wasn't a discussion. I told the two, I informed the chiefs of this amendment. I don't know, frankly, if they felt they could argue with me or not, but I told them about it, yes.
Mayor?
to that point, did you take the time to inform the uniformed personnel who are affected? The Civil Service Commission, the Civil Service Commissioners,
Mayor?
the police, or the fire? I mean, you're asking, number one, you're asking us to put something on the ballot.
No, I'm asking.
Well,
Wait
we'd like to
a minute.
understand what you're
Councilmember
asking.
Markert has the floor. Let's be respectful of each other and stay within this process, please. Thank you. Councilmember Markert.
I'd simply like to understand what we're trying to accomplish and who's been entitled to the information that it's brewing, and if I choose to want to have the opinion of others, what can I do to get that?
The
Because
answer
sitting here
to-
right now is not going to answer my question.
Procedurally, the answer to getting the answer would be to not table this proposal, but rather defer it to a date certain. You can do that, or you can just vote down the amendment, but those would be your two effective options. Okay? Now, Councilmember Clallam.
Thank you. I went to the city attorney. I asked the city attorney for language because I did not like the language that was in there. So I asked him, could you please find something that could make it a little bit more palatable? This was a request because I have been working with the city attorney. As chair of public safety, I have been working with him for a month or whatever, I'm not sure. And so I asked the city attorney for this, to kind of come up with some language that could be more palatable. That's where it came from.
Councilmember Brim.
Before we get to a motion to defer, are there any other proposed amendments to this that we should hear about, rather than this become a series of these deferrals?
There was another,
Councilmember Clallam.
I apologize. And we had discussion, the language to make it clear that could the commission reverse discipline completely?
Mayor?
Mr. Rich.
Yeah, Councilmember Cleland approached the office and said, I can't see where it says that the commission has the authority to completely reverse the discipline. And my response was, well, it's implied in here, but Councilmember Cleland said that's not good enough. I want to add a sentence that in spite of these changes, the commission could totally, not just modify, but totally reverse the discipline and have there be no discipline whatsoever. And so I provided her a sentence that would be added into this.
I have another amendment.
That amendment or a third amendment?
No, it's a second.
Okay.
To what Charlie was talking about.
We have the first one on the table.
Okay.
The second one has been described, and in its simplest terms, it would be to clarify that the commission does have the ability to totally overturn the discipline, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if the motion is to accept the First Amendment, the Second Amendment then would be to offer that change. Or you can avoid the whole thing by offering a motion to defer, and if that passes, then we'll defer it, and you'll see things in writing at the point in time that the deferral or the change is brought back. Councilmember Marker.
I can accept the hatchet that you're handing me. I would make a motion then for deferral until what's a month from now? It gives you time to have a public safety committee meeting, gives all of us time to.
A month from
Smart
now,
lawyers. I
when
just
do
don't
we meet
remember
in
if we're
first
meeting.
meeting in March?
I think we meet on March 10th, but I can't remember. I don't have my calendar handy.
Let's
3rd.
hold on a
We
second,
meet
get
March
the right
10th,
date.
Janice?
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
3rd or 17th then? I'd rather do the 17th. I can't get it done by the 3rd. Which one?
Mayor?
The 3rd or the 17th are the two dates?
17th is a special study session.
No, it's not that. 24th. It's the 3rd or the 24th. Those would be the two dates.
I don't care. I just need more time.
Well, just pick one and put it in your motion.
24th.
All right. There is a motion to defer consideration of agenda item 12A until March 24th. Is there a second? Moved by Councilmember Markert, seconded by Councilmember Hunter Holland to defer until March 24th. Councilmember Legare.
Mr. Mayor, does the amendment on the floor need to be withdrawn, or does this override it?
Now, the motion to defer overrides.
Thank you.
Discussion on deferral. Councilmember Pierce.
Yeah, I think a deferral would give everybody more time to look at the language, and I would just offer a suggestion to the city attorney. So when you resend this document, somehow delineate the new amendments in another color, another font or something, so we know what the proposed amendments, yeah, to help us understand what the verbiage is on the two amendments.
Further discussion on the motion to defer. Seeing none, call the question on deferral of 12A to March 24th, 2014. And the motion to defer passes on a vote of 6-4 with council members Hunter Holen, Pierce, Monier, Peterson, Markert, and Legare voting yes. Is there anyone else who wishes to address council this evening? Seeing no one, we are adjourned.